People talk about the divide between some communities, Kukis and Meiteis. I think it's misleading. But when a riot happens, you don't say that, Muslims and Hindus should sit down together and talk.
No, I was saying, why not have your own party?
Congress is what we need.
Rahul Gandhi said something very different.
Army stopping police from operating in certain areas. Unborn babies have been taken out of the belly of a pregnant woman. Wrong framing. Your question is coming from the same attitude.
I can't ask you that question.
People in this country must be looking into these issues. It's a nonsense otherwise to celebrate 75th year of the Constitution. If you're not able to do it, I would boldly say that you are not able to look at Manipur as part of India.
Hello and welcome to the New Indian Express. This is Orchung Kundu, and today with us we have Dr. Bimol Akoijam. Dr. Akoijam is the first time MP from the state of Manipur whose very fiery speech recently went viral. Dr. Akoijam is a renowned researcher who has been working with the institutions of JNU and CSDS. Welcome to the show, Doctor.
Thank you.
Sir, I would like to start with how you started into politics. Correct me if I'm wrong, it was when the violence in Manipur started is when you decided to join politics, right?
Yeah, see, when you say politics, this is the party politics and the electoral politics that you're talking about. Otherwise, I'm a political animal. Right from my student days, I get involved in public issues. And I have also been writing regularly on public issues in media for almost 3 decades. And in fact, if I counted, my first publication in the print media goes back to 1983. So it is pretty long. But more rigorously, I've been writing for the last 25 years. So I've been involved in public issues, but never thought of joining political party and party politics, This violence, this crisis forced me to rethink that strategy. Initially, you try to lobby with these elected members. All my life I have done that, do this, we ought to do this, we ought to do that. So advising them, suggesting them through columns in newspapers or meeting them and lobbying them. Instead of that, I thought it's far better to get involved, enter and do it myself, because I get a feeling over the years that speaking out from outside and suggestion don't make much of a difference. And the gravity of the situation is such that I thought this is a historical responsibility that I owe to myself as well as to my people and the generation to come. That's why, despite all odds, I've decided to enter into this electoral politics or party politics.
You said it's better to do it on your own. Then why did you choose to go for Congress and not start your own party?
You have to party politics, I said.
Right.
You have to think.
No, I was saying, why not have your own party? Why?
No. See, you have to do, whenever you have a, I love this all Marxist position that you need to do a concrete analysis of the concrete condition. And if you wanted to have a tangible impact, then you need to see the ground realities and ideologically which party you are more aligned with, their organizational structures to support you. The battleground is Manipur, but the larger war is a much more broader. So all these considerations you have to take into account and you make choices. Politics is also making choices, but your choices should be informed by what I've just quoted, Marx's, injunction that you need to do a concrete analysis of the concrete conditions. And given all this, Congress is what we need to defend Manipur as well as to fight back against these right-wing fascist forces that are running havoc in this country.
From a concrete analysis, was your family okay with it for you to join?
Well, my wife, because I was involved in all the time public issues, she was scared A lot of people were asking, her or me to join electoral politics. He should join, fight elections. Not now, long time back.
Okay.
People have been saying there's, he should come into electoral politics. And she
Back
used
then, you never thought that I
yeah,
will
I
join.
never thought. I laughed them off. In fact, people have approached me around August, September. Many parties started approaching me in 23 itself also. Again,
Okay.
I laughed them off. I said, what do you think that I would join?
23 September 23.
Yeah,
You
around that,
still
many political parties have
okay?
approached me, and because I was vocal and so on. So I brushed them aside. I said, this is crazy idea. You
Did
think that
Congress approach you back then?
well, Congress as well as other parties as well.
Yeah.
So before
BJP?
Congress, there were other parties. I will not name those
Okay.
parties, so we will skip that one.
Okay.
I actually laughed them off, and in fact, I was in one occasion I was even offended a little. So I
Okay.
was angry. Would you think that I'm doing all these things for electoral politics? It
Okay.
is my responsibility towards my people and so on. But I thought that the crisis would, be over, and it didn't. So I changed my. So initially, my family reaction, all along, my wife is again. So she used to threaten that if you ever join party politics, electoral, I'll divorce you, kind of thing, so like that. It's not my cup of tea. I came here by default, but as a conscious, ordinary citizens, it's also a conscious choice. And I don't regret. It's a responsibility. As I told you, it's a historical responsibility. I know the things would not be the same in my life. So I had a long discussion with my wife, and then I decided, let's give a shot.
You have children?
Yeah, I have two young
They agreed?
children. No, they are too young to
Okay.
understand.
Okay. Okay.
I I'm very late starter in, so to speak. So my kids are still very small.
Okay.
Uh, Otherwise, I should have my kids who have finished their college education and so on by now. But
So your wife, is the reaction positive now that you have
no,
been
we
elected?
decided. I do it together. We decided. Then I informed my brothers.
Okay.
I discussed with them. My elder brother was a little cautious because he's quite like me in some sense. We do our jobs. We don't get into this domain and so on. This is despite the fact that my father had a similar trajectory like me. He was a professor, and then he joined Congress and fought election in 1980,
Right.
long time back. But maybe that also one of the reasons why I didn't like politics, electoral politics. But destiny has taken me here, so to speak.
I'll go back to, you said that September, October 2023 parties approached you and you said no. When did you feel ki no, this has gone on long enough? What made you feel like
Yeah,
I
I
have to?
started thinking around perhaps December 2023. Should I go on? I thought that, I always check whether whatever the decision when I take, I always say, is it emotional that I'm doing this? So I need to digest it. So I always do this. Whenever you have a decisions to be made, you can always have a leap of faith. Okay, that element is always there, but insofar as whatever is rationally possible, then you try to check whether will it make a difference if I join. So that kind of thing begin around December. Will it make a difference if I join?
What triggered that thought?
Because the way our state government, I hate, like many Manipuris would be, when Delhi started dictating terms on us, and our state government is behaving like that. And number two, the government of India, if you truly think Manipur is a part of India, it shouldn't be behaving like this. It will take full responsibility. On the other hand, I see the national media, the way they cover the disinformation and misinformation that I see. So I thought, no, this is getting too much. And technically also, if I still speak, my platform will be very limiting. So if I join,
Hmm.
then my platform will increase. So I think, and I also thought many people whom I expect to speak up in a particular manner didn't speak up. So I thought, this is something that I've learned from my supervisors in research. Once I was arguing about the lacunas in my discipline.
Hmm.
So one of my supervisors said, Bimol, what you're complaining is a lack of hero in your discipline. Why don't you be the one through your research world? That struck me. So that's the thing that actively started around December, and then I talked to my wife in January. We took the decisions around the last week of January 2024,
Okay.
barely 3 months or 2.5 months before the election.
So it's been a year
Yeah,
that
it's
that
been a
it
year.
has been a year for you. Then
Yeah, yeah.
you
I
have
mean,
just
it is sunk
decided.
in slowly. I keep on reminding people that not used to this, and I don't think myself as a politician still, but I understand the game.
Hmm.
It's not that I don't understand. As a social science student who studies politics, I know now that I'm experiencing. It's like a script. You have a script in film shooting, so you have a screenplay. Now you are actually on the.
How different is it? How different is
Eh,
it? What you read in theory, all the research, what
You
it
know,
says you and
there's a famous social scientist called Kurt Lewin. Once he says that there is nothing practical like a good theory. So if you have been a genuinely studying politics, your studies has to be with the empirics all the time. So that is, I don't see much different understanding. The only difference is that you are experiencing it now. So what you have understood needs to be implemented. Say, for instance, when you know that in politics, people will talk nonsense, however irrational that is, you can't quite get offended with that. And normally in academic, if somebody is speaking nonsense, then you have a right to say that, this is irrational, you can show it. In politics, it's not entirely like that. You see, there is an old essay by a famous sociologist called Max Weber.
hmm.
Incidentally, he wrote two famous essays, one on politics, one on science. Vocation of politics and vocation of science. You can see the contrast between the two. So you're aware of it. So I'm experiencing it now. The difference that was written, what we learned. So that is nothing like a theory and practice. If you have been a true scholar doing social science, you will know that your theory should speak of the reality.
And it does.
It does. It does. It
Okay.
does.
Well, Rahul Gandhi said something very different. He said he was a pol science student. He
Uh,
said it's very different
no,
from.
he is talking about the normative aspects of it.
Okay.
Politics has a normative dimension. I suppose he was talking about that.
Okay.
What ought to be.
Hmm.
Politics is also about what ought to be. So we are struggling what ought to be India.
Hmm.
What BJP is doing is what they think what ought to be India. And
Right.
we think that India ought to be this way, not that way. So that is a normative aspect of politics.
Right.
So, and I understand that. I mean, for me, except for that normative part, there is an empirical part of politics. If you have been studying that, then you know that these are small, small things that you will encounter it.
Okay. Let's go back to Manipur.
Uh,
Please tell us and the audience what is the state right now? What are the conditions in
it
Manipur right
it
now?
is a normalized abnormality, nothing else. No crisis in this country of a violent nature of this scale has happened in this country in this fashion, has been allowed to linger on like this. I'm giving you one example. You have communal riots, worse examples. You have many instances in this country.
Right.
In fact, this country, as a post colonial state, was born out of a bloodied confrontation on a communal line. Millions have lost their lives in homes. It's one of the largest and colossal human tragedy that the world has seen. We are born of that, this country. So communal riots is no stranger to this country. But you have never ever seen a communal violence of this scale in this fashion. And what is unique is the manner in which Indian state has allowed it to happen. You have military fatigue wearing people with sophisticated arms, displaying like a military unit, and the Indian state with the force strongest military in the world is allowing that. The people talk about the divide between some communities, Kukis and Meiteis. I think it's misleading. The actual crisis is the manner in which Indian state has become a banana republic. If Indian state is a state which is authority intact, and as again, if I quote from that essay, Politics, Vocational Politics by Weber, state is a state precisely because it claims the monopoly of the legitimate use of physical force within a given territory. It is this monopoly is what makes state a state.
Right.
When we say something as a failed state, take erstwhile Afghanistan, the
Right.
central authority can't assert its power because there are warlords running the show. Indian state is exactly that way if you look at Manipur. This is a bigger crisis. Once the Indian state recover itself in that fashion, this problem can be handled. So you're talking about communities should talk to each other, and I think it is putting the cart before the horse. What is absolutely required is the Indian state must assert its writ. Its writs must work. It must reclaim its monopoly of the legitimate use of physical force. It is this character of the state power is what has been challenged by these armed groups. India is reduced to a third world, that too all not in contemporary world, collapsed state where the central authority cannot assert itself, and you're not able to protect your citizens' life and property. That's what the state is supposed to do. If you look at the fundamental right chapters, it begins with Article 12 that defines the state.
Right.
So the crisis is in Manipur is a constitutional crisis where Indian state is not able to assert itself. It can happen because of two ways though. It doesn't think that Manipur is Indian enough for itself to assert. And it treats as if it is like a foreign country where you don't assert. There could be one subconscious ways of looking at. Otherwise, you would have cracked down long time back. If this kind of crisis happened in Maharashtra, Karnataka, Bihar, Punjab, UP, I don't think this would have been allowed like this. So there is an issue. So I think this is the crisis. It's not so much about this intercommunity. That the state will handle once its authority is asserted. You understand? You are not mediating Hutus and Tutsis there. You go there as a UN peacekeeping troops to maintain the fight between two communities. If you started looking like this within your own country, then you're forgetting that it is a challenge to your authority by armed groups, and then a law and order is not been able to be maintained. Constitutional, writ is not been allowed to function. This is the crisis of the Indian state. If you think that this is, as I hinted at, if subconsciously, if you're treating like it's a UN interventions mediating between two warring communities, then your outlook is very different.
Right.
This is within citizens, and citizens must obey the rule of law, the authority of the state. Nobody has a right to challenge the authority of the state. The rest of the country, I'm saying through you, I must tell you that the crisis is an Indian state's crisis. It's been reduced to a banana republic.
Was there any progress after you have raised this in the parliament? Your speech said it all. Was there any progress from the center, the state?
No, you
After
ask
that?
yourself, you guys are journalists. I have asked this before I fought election. As a public intellectual, I give a lecture in Chandigarh University sometime around, I think, July, probably 2023. And then I said, who is in charge of Manipur? Law and order is a state subject. Ambedkar called it as the sovereign and plenary authority of the state. The chief minister now openly claims that CID, a department under him, he is also incidentally the home minister within court, home minister of the state. His police department, CID, did not report to him. What does that mean? He said it in a public meeting. He said 15 months. They have not been reporting to him. And then he was the chairman of that security coordination committee, which is often called this unified command. He was removed. And he's saying that my power has been stripped. How is it possible? Is there any law that allows this thing to operate in India? When the chief minister of state or home minister of state, the police department did not report to him, is it possible? Is it possible that he openly says certain areas of the Manipur will be taken care of by the home minister and I'll take care of certain areas? Is it possible in India? Think about this. In Tamil Nadu, one chap says, Madras areas, I am in charge of it. Rest of the other areas, the union home minister will take care of it. If a chief minister of Tamil Nadu says like that, how would you respond? That was said. And there is complete chaotic manner in which army stopping police from operating in certain areas. There's a conflict within state security agency. So it is not about divide among two communities. It is a constitutional structures, state and a union and home ministers, police department and army. What are we doing here? And so many lives have been lost. There are enough constitutional provisions to take care of it. So it is an extra constitutional, complete subversion of constitutions by this government in Delhi as well as in cahoot with the government in Manipur. And people in this country must be looking into these issues. There's a nonsense otherwise to celebrate 75th year of the constitution, when that constitution is not been implemented or openly subverted by people in power. You understand this? Don't talk about, two communities should talk to each other. This is not Hutus and Tutsis. Indian state is not a UN peacekeeping mission in Manipur. It is his own state. Its authority must be asserted. Nobody should be allowed to challenge the authority of the Indian state. You understand my point? So we have been framing these issues for 20 months. It's not about cookies and maitais. It's not so much about that. That will be taken care of once the Indian state authority and a semblance of constitutional order is installed, restored in that part of the country.
Because I will continue the question not about the Indian state now. I will dive into the Manipur state itself and address the fact if we see that the Indian state takes action and the authority is restored, how do you plan on dealing with this hatred?
You think that there is an hatred, there is no mistrust and hatred among Muslims and Hindus in this country?
But it is not at the scale that...
Because you have allowed it to happen like this.
100%. The state must take...
Otherwise, if you allow this, it will happen the same thing in many communities, between castes, between religious group. Even in South India, within the Hindu sects, Lingayats and others, you can always create these divisions. But when a riot happens, you don't say that, Muslims and Hindus should sit down together and talk.
100%.
That is only followed once the semblance of the state authority is restored, isn't it? Any violence, you don't begin by saying Hindus and Muslims should talk to each other. First, you take responsibility for restoring the authority of the state. And law and order is maintained first. The challenge to Indian state is to be resolved first.
So if you're saying if the authority is restored, the hatred which seems to be, it is there already. Media reports say it is there between the two communities.
This is
that
cultivated.
Can be restored.
That is cultivated.
You're saying that can be...
Quite obviously, lot in these countries have been slaughtered each other. Muslims and Hindus have been at each other's throat. Isn't it? In Gujarat, babies, unborn babies have been taken out of the belly of a pregnant woman. People have been killed by hanging tires, burning tires on their neck. Brutal killings have happened. How is that they have restored? So it is a wrong framing. Your question is coming from the same attitude that you are naturalizing this conflict.
I'm not trying to naturalize it. What I'm trying to do is
This is
ask you the
because of this
question.
crisis. Because if you scratch down, this is serving the purpose of some political agenda. The more people are divided, it serves certain political agenda, right?
The thing is, I can't ask you that question. I have to ask the Indian state. That's why I'm asking you the question where what can be done if the state, as you say, it's not functioning the way it should
You
be
let it function
functioning.
first. Indian state must assert its authority. Then it is its own political decision. It's not about two communities to take a decision. It is Government of India who should take a decision. For instance, after restoring the law and order and authority of the Indian state, would you entertain an exclusivist communal identity-based political project? For example, separate administration, separate UT for a particular tribal ethno-nationalist mobilization. Will you allow that in this country? You will open a Pandora's box. State Reorganization Commission in 1956, even when the so-called linguistic state organizations, which smacks of a cultural parameters to organize the administration in this country, was very conscious of this. In its report, it says this is not to be read as a one language, one state. Popularly, we say linguistic state organization. But that commission report says it's not one language, one state. But India cannot afford that. Partition was based on that similar logic. Two religious groups will have two different destiny. They can't live together.
Right.
Isn't it? That's what the two-nation theory is, propagated by Sarvakar and Jinnah. Here, Indian state is neither trying to stop the violence, assert its own authority in a space which is part of this country, and still proclaiming them, like our union minister said, the cookies and Maite should talk. Rest of the country is saying that the divide is so deep, the hatred is so much, as if this is not the hatred that driven communal violence in this country, where the unborn baby can be taken out from the womb of a mother because simply she belongs to other religion. People can be burned alive with tires because that person belongs to the other community. Isn't it? Isn't it hatred? You don't naturalize it here. You don't say Hindus and Muslims should talk each other. I think the framing is wrong. What is embarrassing is many scholars in this country have written for decades that during the colonial period, they essentialize the conflict between Hindus and Muslims, forgetting that this is a product of a colonial state process. And so one scholar said, what was tribalism for the Western in Africa? Communalism is a term that expresses that so-called non-European inherent hatred dynamics within. This is an essentialization of the conflict, forgetting that this is a product of a colonial state process. In a similar sense, many scholars, journalists, and politicians in this country naturalize and essentialize the conflict between communities in Manipur today. And just as the European politicians and journalists were accused of the manner in which they have looked at Rwandan crisis, we are repeating the same thing in Manipur. And this is something to be changed. So that's why I'm saying your question should have been, what is Indian state doing? Why you are not asserting? Why people are roaming with guns and military fatigue? Where is our state authority? Are we a banana republic? Or as far as this demand for political demand, what you need to address is not to be thrown between this. You talk and try to come to a samjhota. No. It is for the Indian state to decide whether such a demand can be entertained or not. What happens to this country? What is our ethos? What is our constitutional mechanism?
Right.
That is the attitude.
Right.
If you are not able to do it, I would boldly say that you are not able to look at Manipur as part of India.
I hope, sir, the Indian state takes actions. I hope the Indian media looks at it the way you are saying they should look at it. They should not look at it as two communities, but as the Indian state taking authority. Thank you for speaking with us.
It's my pleasure.